Okay. So, here we discuss about challenge and needs of 21st century education. So, in 21st century education system, what kind of challenges as a teachers we are facing? So, let us go through that. First one we say how to improve student engagement. What is the problem? Most of the cases we are seeing or we are watching, as a teacher we are watching, the students are not coming in the class. Next problem is that every student says that okay, this course I can pass just 7 days before the exam study. Even some of the courses students say 1 day before the exam study is sufficient for pass the course. So, let us take an example of the BTech course. If a student can claim he will pass the exam just only for 7 days study. Now, think about that. If it is there is a 7 day study is only required for pass the exam, then why we go for the 4-year program? So, what should I do that I should engage the student whole 4 years? In general education, let us take the physics honors, English honors, Bengali honors. Most of the students say, oh sir, before the annual exam 1 month is sufficient, I will just take the note from the teachers and I will just I can read the note and I will pass the exam. If this is the claim, then where is the student engagement? So, whole BTech program, if there is a 8th semester and every semester is only 7 days the engagement, so 7 into 8, 56 days sufficient for the entire program. So, why should go for the 4-year BTech program? So, as a teacher, first challenge is the how do you engage the students? Most of the cases student says that why should I attend the class? Even I have asked many students that why you are not coming in the class, your class is empty, you are not attentive to the class. They said, sir, can you give me 2 reasons why should I attend the class? If you see most of the cases what we will do, we will come with a preparation with a presentation slides, we come in the class and just deliver the slides, that slides is already available in the Google. So, why should a student will be attentive? So, as a teacher, I have to think what should I do in the class so that students are engaged, students are required to be engaged. Most of the students says that, sir, before we attend the class, we do not know what teacher will cover. So, that is why we have not studied in the hostels or in the home. After I attend the class, I found that whatever the teacher is covered, that can be achieved within 1 hour study. So, I kept it for during the semester. So, that is why we have not studied in the hostels. So, as a teacher, what should I do so that students will come prepared in the class and be attentive in, or you can say the engage the students in the class. So, the most challenging task to the 21st century education, because anything you present is available in the Google. So, why should students will be attentive? So, I have to do something else in the class so that student engagement is increased. Next one, how to equip students with 21st century knowledge, skill and attitude. Today, remembering the theory is not sufficient. Students who can remember the, you can say that 20 capital name is not an intelligent student. So, remembering no longer you can say the criteria for education. They have to build their skill and their positive attitude to solve the problem of the society. So, as a teacher, what should I do in the class? So, not only develop their knowledge, but also I am not saying the knowledge means wisdom, knowledge means only remembering facts and figures. That is not sufficient. Suppose you just take an example, you just admitted in a driving school, and is it sufficient to remember how gear work, what is power steering, what is not power, what is clutch, what is brake? Is not sufficient. Sufficient is that you have to be able to drive the car on the road. That is skill. So, remembering Schrodinger equation, Maxwell equation, and what is deep learning is not sufficient for students for learning. I have to develop what they will able to do after knowing Schrodinger equation. So, how to develop the skill and attitude? I will show you one figure. If you see that there is a figure, if you see this figure, there is two pictures. Which pictures you may most of you like? Second one. What is the philosophy of this picture? Long back, if you remember, if you know the Tagore said that in Bengali, শিক্ষাকে আমরা বহন করিয়াই চলিলাম বাহন করিতে পারিলাম না. That means we are carrying the education. Education is not carrying us. That means go to the school, go to the colleges, everybody, there are lots of notes, question and there is model answer, question and their model answer. What the students are doing? They are only remembering the model answer, giving the exam. If you give another type of question, students say, sir, you have not taught this in the class. So, are we equipped enough skill to the students? So, as a teacher, what should I do so that their skill has been developed? Not that only knowledge. Most of the cases it was found, most of the things we have tested also from the student, describe this, define this. I am not saying those are not required, those are required, but those are not sufficient for a higher education program. Let us take an example for a BTech students. If he only know how AC machine work, it is not sufficient. He has to know how to design certain kinds of AC machine, not only how AC machine work. So, the problem is we have to follow a methodology, or we have to follow a teaching learning process, we have to follow a exam assessment process which developed or which enhanced the existing skill of the students. Why I say that? When a student entered to the institution, what is the role of the institution? A student had certain skill, he entered in the institution either to enhance the existing skill and acquire new skill. So, as an institution, I have to think what are the skill they will enhance during this study and what are the skill they will acquire during the study. So, this is very much important that how do I develop the skill on the students. This is not that only remembering, okay, the students will be able to describe the phenomena of this kind of property, not sufficient for BTech engineer. Again, I give you same example, take an example of driving school. If a driving school says that my objective is that to develop the knowledge about how the different parts of the motor, their function, how they work, what are the dangerous points, all kinds of things. But ultimate objective is that how you should able to drive the car on the road. So, unless we reach that objective or that outcome, the education, that training is nothing. So, similarly, if I say the education and I say the student will know the Schrodinger equation, what do you mean by that? Knowing Schrodinger equation is not sufficient. They have to develop the skill, what kind of problem they should be able to solve using Schrodinger equation. So, any theory they should know how AC machine work is okay. No, what do you mean by no? Are they only described? Most of the time we have said that okay, this is sufficient, you should just write a short note on some topic. What is the meaning? So, in higher education, not only the student's knowledge, but also student's skill is important. I can ask the basic questions on education. If I see that why this education system was developed. In my opinion, if you see the society during the civilization, a society required different kinds of skilled people. Somebody will make a cloth, somebody will make a pot, somebody will make metal, somebody will make medicine, all kinds of things. So, different kinds of skilled people are required. I can say skilled labor. So, the purpose of the education is to produce those skilled labor. If I not justify, suppose I become a civil engineer, I say I am a B.Tech civil engineer. If I am not reflecting, if I do not have the skill which will separate me from the other people in the society, why society will accept that I am a B.Tech civil engineer? I can say I am an electronics engineer. Why society will accept me as an electronics engineer? What skill I can demonstrate so that which skill does not have other people of the society? So, as a teacher, we have to think what kind of teaching learning process, what kind of teaching learning process and syllabus, curriculum, assessment, what are that things we should follow so that we can ensure the students acquire certain skill. So, the biggest challenge in that you can say the coming age, because not only the knowledge is not sufficient for the students, skill is required. How to allow continuous improvement in curricula, incorporate from better open educational resources, more effective teaching. Many, you can say the organizations say that you produce students which are not employable. You cover a syllabus which is outdated. Maybe you say that I am suppose that automobile engineering, I describe a model in the class which is obsolete in 30 years back. Many university institutes say that we have a syllabus committee to revise the syllabus after every 5 years. Is it 5 years is sufficient? Is it 5 years is not enough time? Every discipline has changing regularly. You can say the technology are changing very fast. So, our curriculum must be adaptive. So, I can say how can we allow continuous improvement of the curriculum? It is not that okay for during last 5 years this curriculum will be followed, not that. Every year, even if every semester I have to change my curriculum, how do I change that curriculum? Curriculum means skill, what kind of skill I have to develop on the student. And take an example, suppose you teach a course on data structure and algorithm, you may say you develop this skill, industry may say this skill is not required in current industry. So, how do you collect those feedback? How do you integrate those feedback with your curriculum? Industry academia feedback system. Many times we see that there will be a workshop on industry academia collaboration. Some people from industry will come and deliver lectures. Some people from industry will be part of my syllabus committee. Is it sufficient? Is it not sufficient? Every course, every skill must be verified by the industry. It is not force them. It should be available so that industry can tell, industry can provide the suggestion, this kind of skill is not required presently, you have to change the outcome. So, what kind of mechanism as a teacher we should follow so that we can say that continuous improvement in the curriculum is happening. Many times teachers are saying, okay, this resource is not available, so why should I go for that? So, industry also come forward, provide collaboration with active collaboration. They will provide the resources which is required for developing the skill so that they can get the ready manpower. So, it is not one lecture of industry academia collaboration. It is not somebody's decision. It is collective decision. So, how do you do that? That is the important issue. Next one is how to ensure examination system reinforce the teaching and learning. That means, if I say the examination system is only for providing marks, I can give you a real life example. Suppose some doctor said you analyze or examine your blood for blood sugar. You go to the laboratory and you examine your blood sugar and it was found that 320 is your blood sugar. Is it end? If you not visited to the doctors and doctors prescribe you medicine, you take the medicine, is the loop is complete? So, you take an exam, class test, you find 80% students have failed. What is the meaning? So, examination is not only provide marks to the students. So, examination actually reinforce the teaching and learning. Meaning is that suppose I test one assessment or I take an assessment in certain concept, I found 80% of the students has not achieved that concept. What is the meaning? As a teacher, what kind of feedback I can take? Feedback is that either the concept is so tough or concept is such a way mentioned is not achievable, or the teaching learning process which I follow in the class is not appropriate to develop that skill. So, that is reinforcement of the examination system in the assessment and evaluation. So, that has to be developed. How do you develop that? Next question, how to ensure lifelong learning? Very much important issue. Lifelong learning. Not only we have to develop the skill, but also self-learning ability or self-skill development ability. If you go to the most of the school, I have seen it in my kids, most of the school, teacher write the questions and write the answer, questions and answer. What is the self-learning ability? Students only remember, oh, this question, this answer, this question, this answer. They never think on the subject. So, where is the self-learning ability? Most of us not provide assignment to the students. We know the students will not solve the assignment, they will copy it from each other. I do not have a time to check all assignment of the many students. But unless I provided the assignment, unless I test them in a new situation, how do I ensure their self-learning ability has been developed? So, what should I do in the class so that I can claim that actually I am developing their self-learning ability, which is essential component for today's 21st century education. Unless a student has developed their self-learning ability, he cannot learn new things. Think about, after he pass out from your college or institute, he has to learn by themselves. Like this, whatever the lecture I have given, actually myself is not that education, you can say that I do not have any education background. I am a hardcore electronics engineer, but I developed this concept by my own learning. So, I can say that self-learning ability of the student has to be developed. Next one is how to teach a large class, very important issue. Most of the cases, most of the classes, class size is above 100. Even my class size is 130 last semester. And what is the main problem in large classroom? In a layman's view, without knowing the learning theory or learning approaches, all kinds of things, if I say explain what is the problem in large classroom, that teacher does not know whoever is coming in the class, who are going in the or not coming in the class. Because if I take the attendance, which is error free attendance, I can say half of the time of the class will be gone. So, attendance, taking an attendance is an issue. Second issue is that even if I take attendance and I ensure that all students come in the class, if you something you presented in the blackboard, it is a large class, sitting back bench of the most of the students will do active Facebook sitting inside the class, or they will do something else than the class. So, they will be actually they are bodily present, mindly absent. This is the one issue. Second issue is that if teacher teach for the first bench, then middle bench say is okay, but little bit of tougher side, and last bench say it is above the head. So why should I attend in the class? If a teacher teach for the middle bench, then the first bench say it is very easy, middle bench says it is okay, but last bench again say it is above the head. So you should not attend the class. Now if I say that I will teach for the last bench, then the first bench, middle bench will say the teacher is useless. So what should I do in the class? Why this kind of things is happen in the class? If you come from the learning theory part, what is the teacher student ratio for best teaching? If I say that this is the, what is the appropriate teacher student ratio for the best teaching, I can say that is 1:1, your private tutor. Why? If you see, what is the problem? A student has his own learning style and learning approaches, and that also vary with time, topic, subject, mental condition, many things. So when I teach 1:1, the instructor or teacher can change his instruction style depending on the learning style, learning approaches of the student of that time. So I can say the teaching is adaptive between the students and teacher. That is why the best teaching has happened. Now in a large class scenario, what is the problem? If I have 150 students in my class, so different students have different learning style and learning approaches, and also that is a function of time. So if I take the distribution, so I found a different kinds of clusters of learning style, learning approaches. Now what should I do as a teacher so that I can, whatever I am delivering, whatever the teaching learning process I am following, which will address all those clusters. So I have to ensure that I am following a teaching learning process which will address all kinds of learning style, learning approaches present at that time in my class. That means I have to pay individual attention in the class. Now 150 students, what should I do? So at the end of the course, I try to provide a solution that if you probably do this kind of things, then you can scatter to different kind of learning style and learning approaches. Another problem which will coming, many institutions are complaining, multi-section class. Suppose there is a class called engineering mechanics, there is a 10 section in one institute, and what is the biggest complaint? Some group of students say that teacher is very good, that is why they have scoring out, those students are scoring good, why not we have attend those teachers class? Management says it is impossible, that teacher can only take 150 students. So how do you accommodate 1000 students to that teachers? So what is the solution to avoid this kind of problem? So I will try to explain that solution also in this course, that in a multi-section class, probably if you follow this kind of teaching learning methods, then this kind of complaint can be avoided. So those are the issue I have raised, and those still issue, I have not yet uttered the solution for each and individual issue. If you follow the entire course, you should able to find out the solution for each and individual issue which I have raised. So based on the problem, so what kind of, you can say, the teaching learning process that suitable for overcome this kind of problem, I brought down 2 slides, but elaborately I will describe during the entire course. So what I said, that to improve student engagement, the idea is promoting self-learning, so that within limits learner are allowed to follow their own space and learning style. Approach is that encourage self-learning, allow the learner their own space. Equip students with interdisciplinary skill. You like the example, UG engineering student need to take considerably more responsibility for their own learning than is the case at present. Learning to learn, communication skill, working in a group are to be important points in addition to domain specific knowledge. It is not only required the domain skill, but also domain independent skill, learning to learn, communication skill, working in a group, ethics, all are very important parameters. Continuous improvement in curricula, incorporating better educational resources from industry, domain expert through framework, ICT framework. I can use ICT framework to do that. So, how do you do that? I will explain. Next, provide adequate training to the faculty member for effective teaching. Scholarship teaching. Many times we said this person is a very good teacher. Is the good teacher is by born or good teacher is by practices? So, what kind of, you can say that practice we should need to the new teachers so that they becomes a good teachers. Train the faculty member to evaluate the student skill using more scientific approach. Most of the cases we have not designed the question paper. Many times many universities say, no, do not give this kind of problem, they will fail. But what is the purpose for examination? To assess whether student has achieved their target or not. If it is not, I have to take the class again. Healthy online debates on course objective, teaching, learning, strategy, evaluation will clarify. You can say that my course is upgraded as per the industry requirement. So, I make a slides that question for engineering education. You can say that I have received this question and probable answer also I have write down. What is the full set of knowledge, skill and attitude and their levels of proficiency for a student should develop as they graduate from any institution. So, suppose I am teaching a course, I want to know this kind of things, what kind of skill set I should develop and it at what proficiency, so that the industry get the ready manpower. So, the solution is in the form of engineering accreditation, outcome based education, active participation of industry for defining outcome of education. If I say why should I teach thermodynamics and what kind of skill set is required in thermodynamics has to define very clearly in collaboration with industry. How to ensure that the student develop or acquire those skills? Suitable pedagogy for achieving the defined outcome. As a teaching learning process, I have to use suitable pedagogy so that they can, every student ensure they have reached the outcome. Valid and reliable assessment and evaluation. I will discuss more on that. Resource share by industry. Many times people say that okay, if I develop this kind of simulation problem, I require this kind of software, but industry is not sharing that. But it is the industry also has to come forward to share those resources to the education institution so that they can get the trained manpower. So, skill based education, I guess, or 21st century education is skill based education. To develop the skill, first I have to define what kind of skill is required. Next, I have to know how to develop those skills, pedagogy or teaching learning process. Next, I have to develop how do I test or how do I assure the student has reached the, or developed their or you can acquire those skills, not develop that skill, acquire those skills. So, that is assessment and evaluation. So, I have defined the problem, I have not yet covered the solution. So, from the next class, I try to expose those kind of solution one by one. Okay? Thank you.